that's why it has some issues sometimes when I am at the same time. But we are live. That's very good, and hopefully we are not gonna have issues anymore. So let's see. Let's see. Let me put this camera here so I can see everyone. Awesome. So, guys, thank you so much for being here today. Very happy to see you all. Few time ago we haven't seen each other in 2 weeks. So I'm actually want to think about if we want to do this in a weekly basis. We can talk about this later to see if it would be easier or not. But anyway, so I was just trying to see if I could see it through my cell phone, because would be good to be able to see anybody joined here. Let me just mute. Very good. It's working. I can see it. Oh, Carla actually joined on Facebook, not on Blue Jeans.
Blue Jeans.
So let's go back and start all over. Thank you so much for being here. Today is November 30th.
Yeah.
We are studying our wonderful book, this beautiful book, Thought and Life, from the spirit of Emmanuel and through the mediumship of Chico Xavier. So tonight we will be studying the chapter 7. Work. And work is so important. And most of the time we just complain that we have to work. But to everything, calm down. Let's do our quick prayer, and then we introduce ourselves. So as always, I hope you have your water, and the enlightened spirits will bless it. So let's just relax a little bit. Thank you, dear God, for the blessings that we are already receiving, for this beautiful energy. Please guide us, protect us, inspire all of us to be able to fully understand these beautiful messages, but most of all, to be able to apply these messages in our own lives. And please also inspire the friends who will be seeing this video later on, so they can also feel the fulfillment as we will be having this. Thank you so much. So be it.
So be it.
Very good. So let's start. I'm Angela from Miami, Florida. And let's start, Gisela.
Hi, I'm Gisela Garbeza. I live in Miami, Florida as well, right in front of Angela.
Yes, neighbor.
That's nice.
Solange.
Hi, Miss Solange. I'm from Connecticut. Yay.
Yay, Connecticut. There is Teresa.
Yes, I'm Teresa, and I live in Vermont.
Nice.
Vermont. Is it cold now?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
It was 18 degrees the other morning.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's crazy.
But
wow.
no snow yet.
No
snow yet. Yeah, positive. Always positive. Daniela.
I'm Daniela. I'm from Jersey City.
Very good. Jersey City, New Jersey. My ex-neighbor. My ex-neighbor.
Exactly.
Awesome, guys. So, as usual, we will start with Thought and Life, and later on we will pass to the Gospel. So I will share my screen just to the people that don't have the book or they don't have access to it right now, but just for your future, it's on our page on Facebook. It is in pictures, so you'll see all the pictures of the books. So, number 7, work. I will read, and then we can comment little by little. So, 7, work. If we wish to mentally register the light of higher plans, we must be willing to embrace work as our daily sustenance. In the past, we looked upon work as something belonging to the lower classes, or to condemned slaves. Schools, the arts, housework, industry, and farming were previously assigned to slaves, while the supposedly free lived in a state of comfortable idleness. Today, however, we know that the law of work is the path to freedom. Without this law, the mental world would fall into slumber and stagnation. To flee its dictates, it's like stepping to the roadside to watch the traffic of evolution pass, leaving behind all those who choose the illusion of laziness. The men who practice deception will not only suffer for the unfortunate act of stealing what belongs to general good, he will regret the misfortune of having prepared for himself a prison cell that stifles his best spiritual faculties. Mere activity for its own sake, however, is not enough. The lower regions are a beehive of activity. Let me change the page here. Beyond the obligation to work principle, though we are remunerated, we must reach a point where we feel the pleasure to serve. In the natural sequence of our development on earth, our incarnate spirit is compelled to a continuous struggle in order to survive. Man receives the water, the sun, and the sustaining atmosphere for free. However, to assure his physical well-being, he has to labor and suffer for the protein and carbohydrates he needs. Although captive to the requirements of the material plane in which he dwells for a time, he can nevertheless begin to experience the elation of voluntary service to mankind. Once he opens his soul to the reflection of the divine sphere, action transforms the environment, service transforms man. A task that is paid for its generally receiving with thanksgiving by those it has helped. Yet, such a task remains a part of ordinary and typically worldly exchange. On the other hand, tasks that are offered spontaneously and voluntarily without thought of reward will activate the influence of heavenly goods that also help everyone freely. As we advance, we will understand more and more clearly the need to work for the sake of serving. When we begin to serve our neighbor wholeheartedly, we enroll in the process of purifying our own soul and begin to align ourselves with abundant life. In the higher realms of spirit, work is not imposed on anyone. A person who is conscious of truth understands that doing good attunes him to the love of God. He surrenders to this fact of his own free will. This is why, in the higher realms, he who serves progresses towards the heights of a glorious immortality. He produces within himself the marvels of heaven that surround us everywhere.
Beautiful.
Wow. Wow, it is very beautiful. It
Yeah.
is very beautiful, and it's very deep also. It's a lot of, as usual, a lot of information. Emmanuel puts a lot of information in only 2 little pages, very condensed.
Yeah.
So the first sentence is already like impacting. If we wish to mentally register the light of higher plans, we must be willing to embrace work as our daily sustenance. So, and this work here, if Emmanuel is talking about work, it is not just the work of, our daily lives, our physical work on earth, but I think is also, what else? What else could be?
Moral work, self-work
Yes,
with
our
yourself.
moral work, our
Yeah,
spiritual work,
spiritual work.
it's everywhere. So the work is the full work, not just the work we are doing in our daily jobs to be able to pay our bills, but also our work with our family members, with our friends, with our coworkers, with
Neighbors.
the people who are difficult, that family member that's difficult. It's a work. It's also a work, and we have to embrace it. We have to learn how to enjoy it, and I recently did a lecture on Thanksgiving, and so when we talk about Thanksgiving, we always think that we have to be thankful for all the good things that happen to us. But when we really study the book of Joana de Angelis, where she talks about why we have to be thankful, then she explains through the mediumship of Divaldo Franco. She explains that we have to be thankful because of 3 levels. The first level is the most normal. We are thankful for the good things that happen to us. The second level, we are thankful for the bad things that did not happen to us. Easy to understand. But the third, we have to be thankful for the bad things that happen to us. So it's like, wow, really? But then when you study this book that's called Psychology of Gratitude by Joana de Angelis, then you understand that we have to be thankful for the bad things that happen to us because they were lessons we had to go through and we had to learn through it. And through
Yep.
pain, we learn a lot. And it's very difficult. But instead of saying why me, you have to say, okay, please God, help me to go through this. Not oh, why me, I'm such a good person, but help me to go through this too. So this is just something to think about, because when we talk about work, as he says here, we think he talks here that work in the past was just something that the slaves had to really do it. The ones who had like a better social position didn't have to worry much about it. So let me see where he mentions. So he mentions here, the 4th paragraph. We know that the law of work is the path to freedom. Without this law, the mental world would fall into slumber and stagnation. To flee its dictates is like stepping to the roadside to watch the traffic of evolution to pass, leaving behind all those who choose the illusion of a laziness. So laziness is not good. Laziness does not help anyone.
Bad.
Anyone. Even in our job, when we are just don't be lazy.
I'm so guilty of that. This is speaking to me. This is
when we think, oh, even to the silly things, that's why it's to everything. Even like, oh, I want to lose weight. So you have to diet or you have to go to the gym. And then you get lazy and you're like, oh, no, I don't feel like doing it today. So you are not doing the work of exercising. Like, for example, I can't diet, but I can exercise. But whenever I feel like lazy, that's a problem. I'm not working. I'm not building up the strength to be able to reach to my goal. And one thing that we also know is that when we are working, for example, and whenever we are struggling with something, we try to understand better how to do something to make work faster, to make work more productive. So it helps us because it exercises our brain, our intelligence, and makes the job to be more productive and happier and whatever. Just an example, I work in a company and we had a very bureaucratic system. And it was long, tedious, and very tough, very like difficult. So I was talking to my boss, and she's like, "Why don't you think about something to make it faster?" And then I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I thought about, and I changed totally the system. And then now, instead of taking like 2 months to finish something, I'm finishing in like 3 days. And I'm like, oh my God. But this was so good. But at the same time, I was already feeling that struggle, but I did not push my boss to allow me to change. I kept thinking, if it has been like this for many years, who am I to change? But thank God she was inspired to tell me, do you think that you can do something to change? It's okay to do it. And that's exactly what I needed to be able to change. So it was great. And now it's so much better. And I feel so much happier. And, work, it's good for us in every single sense. Can you imagine if I think about, imagine if we were millionaires and we don't need to work and we just stay home doing nothing and really in an idleness state, and maybe it would be on Facebook the whole day. What would we be producing? What will be the positive thing of this? This is not good, and this is just a simple example. I'm not saying that every rich person is like this, because it's not true. It's not true. But that's why money and richness is such a dangerous past when you reincarnate, because you really need to be a well-prepared spirit to be able to live through that reincarnation of a lot of money, to be able to know how to use it in a very good, in a very proper way. And when we reincarnate in a more humble way, we don't even need that, because we have to work. We need to
Work hard.
Yes.
I know that, I mean, from experience, this is basically what I've been dealing with forever, but lately that I'm more aware of, especially, I think it was 2 weekends ago, at the Conscious Living, they also had a talk about this, and it really, for me, it's like close to home. I know that I have those lazy tendencies into idleness, but what I've realized is more for me is like an escape, something that I don't want to deal with. So I'll start watching TV. Like that's like my escape. Some people have drugs, some people have alcohol. I have television. So I will just drown myself in hours of,
Yes.
doing that. And then after a while, I mean, I get what you're saying about, if you were a millionaire or this or that. But I think everyone, after a while, I mean, for me at least, it just becomes, it's like draining. I get tired. I'm so tired because, you start feeling guilty, which is what the conscious living,
That's the thing. You feel
you
guilty.
start feeling guilty. I start feeling guilty. So I start feeling guilty because I should be doing this or this. And in my head, I have so many things to do, but sometimes something is happening where, you have so many things to do that you just don't do any of them.
Yes.
Because your mind is exhausted of thinking about all of the things that it has to do or it's supposed to do. So I'm like, Oh my God, I'm too tired. So I'll just watch a little TV. But that I noticed after a while that I fall into almost like a depression. Like I feel bad. And then in that same talk, it talked about be wary. Joanna G. Angelis spoke about it in a book. I don't remember one. Be wary about the empty hour. She calls it the empty hour. That idleness, and I've experienced it, gives way, that opening to these negative vibrations now to come in. So I've been like great, jolly, but when I let my guard down, as far as like I give myself too much lazy leeway, you know, then I notice that everything around me now kind of feels like it falls apart. Even if like things don't change, like let's say like, you know, things might not change in my life, but it's my perception of it. If I'm feeling good, my perception of, let's say I still haven't found work or anything like that, but it's fine, it's positive. But when I let that idleness like continue, and then that, I call it that empty hour, if I like give myself too many empty hours, then I notice that negative influence comes in, and my perception of the same situation is completely different. You know,
So
it's so
this thing you really have to pay attention, because you need to focus to don't fall in idleness. I have this also, and like I have to do something that's very important, and sometimes it's like requires a little bit more of thinking, and I get like, oh, let me just look at WhatsApp now, and then that little minute of WhatsApp can take forever, especially because I have like 50 groups.
Oh my God.
And then now I learn, and then afterwards I feel guilty because I'm like writing forever, and then like 1 hour went by, and like, oh my God, now I have to produce for that hour. And then instead of leaving at my hour, I have to leave 1 hour later because I lost that time. So there are so many things we can do, but for me, for example, I have been turning my cell phone upside down so I don't look at it. I pretend it does not exist, because it's very dangerous, you know, very dangerous for us to say, I'm just going to go there for a little bit, and then boom, you go there for a long, long time. And we have to be careful, because, for example, you are not working, but it does not mean you are not producing.
Correct.
So we have to produce to occupy even our minds. So even if you are not working right now, so you can do things that will bring you to something. So you can do research or something. What could I do this, or what could I do that, or contacting people, or studying. But you have to occupy your mind. And TV is good, but you know, we
not too much of it.
Exactly. It's good
Depends what you want.
I go a little to the extreme. So I get addicted to shows, and then I just like sit there for hours.
I know.
My problem is the nighttime, because I'll start it at night, and then I won't sleep, and then I'll get up late, and then it's just But I have to be. But ever since that and this was just kind of came hand to hand, and what she spoke about the empty hour reminds me of this like idleness that they talk about here. But I agree. It's not only as a job, but it's also in your spiritual kind of like search. She also had said something in that I thought it was interesting, that I felt like I was doing, that studying so much, like listening to all these like positive like podcasts while I'm driving, and listening to, you know, positive music, uplifting things, reading, you know, before I go to bed, when I wake up, doing all this stuff. However, she says, that's all great. However, she's like, you're gaining all this information, but what are you doing with it? Like, you have to put it into practice. You know what I mean? So then I noticed that as well. And they mention it somewhere here, but it's not only, you know, gathering all of this, but now basically putting it into practice, living it every day. Exactly.
We have to use it.
Yep.
Another thing, the next page in 34, that's also very, very beautiful. When he says, beyond the obligation to work principle, though we are remunerated, we must reach to a point where we feel pleasure to serve. And this pleasure to serve. Most of the people are like, are you kidding me? Like, if you like your job, it's easier. But even like that, you might think, oh, I would love to just lay down my couch today and do absolutely nothing. I feel pleasure with that. But we really need to start to a point that we feel the pleasure to serve, like the pleasure to help, the pleasure, like I felt pleasure when my client got super excited that instead of months, in 3 days I finished. And he was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. And I'm like, yay, yes. Like I felt very happy that he was happy. But another example, also pleasure to serve. For example, in anything we do, like we go somewhere. I remember, especially when I lived in New York, I'm going up or down the subway staircases, the forever staircases and subways. And sometimes I met people that had big bags or had strollers, and I volunteered to help. They didn't even look, they didn't even ask. I volunteered. And after, the feeling of gratitude within ourselves is so big. Like we feel pleasure, we feel happy to have been able to help, even if it's just a little bit. It's really nice. And one day we will reach to a point that's going to be normal. This will be the standard. He says here too, he mentions about this. We are going to read about this later. In the higher realms, nobody is obligated to help anybody or to work. But we will be there. Everybody there, they love to do it. Everybody there, they want to do it. This is almost like when I talk to friends and I talk about the spiritual realm and I talk about what happens after our physical body dies. And then a lot of people say, oh, I don't know, I don't think we do anything. We just we rest. It's like we got our forever retirement.
We float around.
Yeah, it's just like, I worked a lot, and then and some of them even spiritists, they believe in spiritism, but they don't really study it, because when you study spiritism, it's not like that. When we wake up in the spiritual realm, soon we will feel the need to be useful. We don't want to be just hanging out there and doing nothing. So we know that, like André Luiz, for example, in the book Nosso Lar, we saw that when he finally was able to move on to Nosso Lar, he left Umbral when he was in Nosso Lar. When he was feeling good, he started wandering around the garden with everybody. But soon he started telling his friends, his mentors there.
Angela.
He started saying, I'm a doctor on earth. I wanna work. But he thought he could work as a doctor in the spiritual realm, and the doctors in the spiritual realm are different. Yes, Solange?
There is no vacation the other side, right?
Yes, exactly.
You want a vacation, get a vacation while you're here.
Exactly. No vacation.
There, forget it.
Yeah, exactly. No vacation. We work all the time, all the time. Let me see.
Yeah.
Carla is saying something. It is. Carla is commenting on Facebook. It is true. WhatsApp takes my time too. Many groups. I like to watch the lecture to occupy my time. Radio Fraternidade also helps me a lot. Yes, lately I have been driving much more than I did in New York, and I have been, instead of listening music, I have been listening all kinds of positive things or lectures. But yesterday, it's very good. When I was going to the center, it was funny because I was going to the center to help in the spirits books studies. And then I was like, let me talk to God. Like we are really like this. But this was my way of doing a mentalization, all my friends know that for me to do meditation, it's very difficult. And it's so important. It's so important, especially to people like me that are very hyper. It's very important to calm us down, to be able to clear our thoughts, to be more focused. But for me, it's difficult. So I took that time, turned off the music, and I start talking about my problems, my life. And then I start thanking for so many blessings. And you don't pay attention, but when you are really doing this, you start having feedback. You start having inspirations of certain things that I said I was doing like this, and suddenly I have an inspiration to do like this. I'm like, oh, really? That's actually even better. So if we practice this, would be very helpful too. It would be very helpful. The idea is really working all the time, even with our thoughts, feeling pleasure of it, and putting it to be positively active. So the first thing we need to understand is that work is marvelous. Work helps us to improve. Work brings all kinds of benefits, not just for ourselves, but to society in general. And when we finish our high school on Earth, that we go to planets that are more evolved, we will be able to see that everybody does it, everybody helps each other without even asking, because it will be our nature. Our nature will be the nature of serving others, helping others in an easy way. Nowadays, it's still a work in progress, a tough work in progress, but we will be able to do it. So let me see some important parts here. You guys can comment whatever you want, okay? We started a little bit later today, so we have a few minutes. So here, this paragraph also is beautiful. On the other hand, tasks that are offered spontaneously and voluntarily without a thought of reward will activate the influence of heavenly goodness that also helps everyone freely. So this is good. When we do something for somebody without expecting to get something back, because this is what most of people think, I'm going to do this because I might get that. This doesn't really help us. But when we do something without even thinking about a thank you,
From the heart.
Really, exactly. This really change things. When we help other person, we have to understand that the guardian angel of that person and all the spirits connected to that person, this is an example, they also get help, they also get happy with whatever we did, and they also watch over us. So when we do any kind of volunteer work, for example, any kind of charitable work, and Christmas time, Thanksgiving time, and Christmas time, it's a time that makes people to be much more charitable, much more loving. What should be the whole year, it's not. But at least for now, the months of November and December, really people are much more open. So you see there are hundreds and hundreds of types of charity or types of things that are happening. And in our charity in New York, in our little project of loving bags for the homeless in New York, we all felt it. We had a meeting after we distribute the bags, and every single person was touched by that, because we take that bag, we put little things inside, nothing fancy, just simple things, and we go to the streets and we give to a homeless, to a person that is destitute of anything, and a person that is so used to being ignored, to be invisible to the society. And I was with Jensen in Grand Central, and I think was our last bag for that night. And we passed, and we didn't see the man. And when we look back, we saw him. And then I told Jensen, let's go back and give him the bag. So we went back, and he couldn't see us. So we touched him, and he turned, and we said, oh, this is a gift for you. And then he looked at us like, for me? Like, are you serious? And then we said, yes, it's just a simple gift, just
The
a
angels.
little thing for you. And then he was like, he took the bag and he was looking at us like, is this some kind of prank? What is that? And he took the bag and he looked like this. He put the bag on the floor and had a shirt, like a winter shirt. And he took it and he opened it. He looked and he's like, he hugged the shirt like, thank you, thank you so much. It was so beautiful. The energy, I could feel the vibrations. He was like, thank you so much. He hugged the shirt. That was like the biggest gift in the planet.
Wow.
What I'm saying is that it was very simple, but sometimes just a simple gesture of talking to somebody that is not used to it is so beautiful. So these brothers and sisters who pass through these difficult times, it's really like a blessing for them to receive something like that. And just to remember, you are also a son of God, and you can get out of this situation. It is tough, but there is hope, because what we can't do is we cannot lose hope. Hope is the last thing we can lose. So we have to give hope. So everything I was saying is that when we help these people, all the spirits that surround that being, that love that being, we want to help us too. So even the positive energy from them giving positive energy to us. So this is very good. But you have to be careful that the contrary also works. When you do something bad to somebody, the spirits that are around and enjoy this, they're like, oh, and we don't want that. We don't want that. We want positive energy. We want love. That's what we want to. So just to finalize what I already mentioned before, but it says here, doing good attunes with love and the love of God. So when we do good, we are attuning with the love of God, and that's what we need. And the last paragraph, this is why the higher realms, he who serves progresses toward the heights of glorious immortality. He produces with himself the marvels of heaven that surround us everywhere. So this is the future. In the future, this will be happening everywhere, every day, all the time. So it's beautiful for us to understand that how work is important, how to be productive is important, not just in our physical realm, but also in the spiritual realm with our thoughts. Stop idleness, and do certain things to help. I know that the clock helps me. If I want to be idle watching TV like during my lunchtime, so I really have to put like, okay, 20 minutes. Although it can be like 2 hours, and then guilty feelings. No guilty feelings. Let's be prepared to be always active. So let's go to the gospel. The gospel. According to Spiritism, this beautiful book that we always study little because we talk so much and it's so deep. So we stopped.
However.
Yes, exactly. We stopped on page 21. However, let me share so you guys can see. So we are here. So let me read. However, so just a reminder, we are talking about the introduction and the authority of the Spiritist doctrine, universal test of the Spirit's teachings. So last week we were talking about that there were thousands of voices around the planet bringing the Spiritist message everywhere. And Kardec was codifying all these messages, translating from many different languages, and they were all talking about Spiritism. And that's how he started producing the book. So continue, it says, however, this is not the sole advantage resulting from such an exceptional position. Spiritism finds in it a powerful guarantee against all schemes that might arise, whether from the ambition of a few or whether from the contradiction of certain spirits. Such contradictions are surely an obstacle, but one that carries the medication alongside the malady. It is known that as a consequence of the differences that exist in their capabilities, spirits are far from being in possession of the whole truth individually. That is not given to all to grasp certain mysteries that their knowledge, let me change the page here. Yes, that their knowledge is proportional to their purification, that ordinary spirits do not know any more than humans, and even less than some, that amongst them, as amongst the latter, there are presumptions and pseudo-learned spirits who think they know what they in fact do not, and the theorizers who take their own ideas for the truth. In short, that spirits of the highest order, those who are completely dematerialized, are only ones divested of earthly ideas and prejudice. However, it is also known that deceitful spirits have no scruples in cloaking themselves with names they have borrowed in order to render their utopian ideas acceptable. The result is that for everything that is outside the exclusively moral teaching, the revelations that each one may obtain will have an individual character lacking authenticity, that such revelations must be considered as the personal opinions of his or that spirit, and that it would be imprudent to accept them or thoughtfully promulgate them as an absolute truth. So let's comment these two paragraphs before we read. So this, let's see. Okay, I think it's good. So here, what Kardec is saying here. What did you guys understand about these two paragraphs?
That spirits, unless they're completely and utterly pure, can come to you with any kind of like mischievous ideas or things like that. I mean, what I've learned at the centers in New York, I remember that no true spirit of light will come to you and tell you what to do, or their guidance is very like, they kind of like, it's very, very subtle. Yeah. So that's one of the things that when I go to certain centers where they just they focus on the phenomenon, for example, of spiritism, they tend to speak freely and tell you too much. So not saying that this person, also I've learned that you also have to be careful, like the person who's receiving messages, and that person also has to be living like a virtuous moral life in order to be receiving.
Yes.
You know, if Givaldo Franco were to give me some advice, I'd be a bit, you know, okay with it. I'd be more than happy to accept it. I was here when he gave that speech, and at the end of his speech, he was saying something, and every single person, they were supposed to have question and answers after, and they didn't. We all left in tears. Like, I didn't even know why I was crying. I'm like, why am I crying? But it was so moving. Every man, there was like 500 people there, but it was Becerra de Menezes, I guess. He was the one speaking, and he just said something just so beautiful, and just the immense, just the vibration in there, you can feel it, you know?
Yes.
So that's what I'm understanding from here, that you just have to be careful, I guess, of what, like, who's coming to you, because as in this realm, in the other realm, there's like these mischievous spirits who will, I guess, jokingly, you know, they just love to you know, mess with people.
Yes, so. Exactly, because there are, like we are incarnated, we have different levels of knowledge, different levels of morality, and the spirits the same thing. And sometimes the spirits that are very, very intelligent, they are very mischievous. And people who believe, oh, because he's a spirit, he knows everything.
Exactly.
That's the danger, because it's not true. Even in the spiritual realm, there are so many levels. And it was beautiful because Kardec codified the messages, and in certain points, he put certain affirmations. And then I remember one that St. Augustine came, and he mentioned that's not the total truth, but to the level of this spirit, that's what he understands it. But this is not the total truth. And then he complements, the truth is a little bit different, and you cannot even fully understand it right now. But I can just complement this, and this. So it was very interesting also that Kardec put these different messages to show us, just because it's a spirit saying something, it does not mean that's the total truth. And as it's explained here in the next page, only the highest order of spirits, that means the ones that are completely dematerialized, meaning they do not need to reincarnate to purify themselves anymore. They do not need to come back to pass through some kind of tests of attunements. They don't need it. They already did everything, and they are pure spirits. So, and you know, you have to understand that's not like we can't really know numbers, but you have to understand if there are millions, billions of spirits, the percentage of dematerialized is much smaller. And only those are the ones who know the real truth. But as you said, Gisela, these ones, they will not tell us what to do, because we have our free will, and they want us to exercise our free will. They want us to understand what is good and what is bad. So they will give, when we pray and we ask for help, they will give us inspiration. They will give us inspiration to, I'm really thinking about doing this. And they will give inspirations like, think about, do you think this is the best thing to do? What would be the consequences of it? And then you start thinking, maybe this is really not the very good thing to do. That's how they act. They don't say, oh, Angela, no, you have to open that door. This door is not good. If you are a medium and you hear that, be careful. Because maybe you are not well inspired at that moment, and you are hearing voices that are really not the best voices.
Angela, you as a medium.
Flavia and Carla, very nice to see you guys on Facebook. I'm trying to learn how to use Facebook and Blue Jeans.
I have a question for you. No, it's fine. you, since you're like a medium and you talk to dead people. No, I was wanting, because you made that comment. So let's say, like, I understand it that way. Yes, you get inspired. But let's say, like, do you ever get those kind of messages where it's like, no, Angela, you really shouldn't go through this door? Do you ever hear, or do you ever do that?
Well, when it depends a lot. Sometimes sometimes when I'm with my mind set to something that I'm like, I'm gonna do that because this will be the best thing, and this and this and this. Sometimes I have I think my guardian angel, he's like me, he's like, pay attention. Because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, what was that?
Oh, like slaps you around.
I do not hear like, no, honey, it's not good for you.
Not good for you. Yeah.
It's not how I hear, but sometimes I have inspirations that's not gonna be good, or different. I have a feeling. That I feel like sick, and so our guard, even mediums, like Chico Xavier, that he was in this super deep connection with Emmanuel. Yes, they have a very different relationship because they worked 24/7, and Chico was extremely dedicated to the cause. Chico really followed every single thing, and he went through difficult times. But even like that, Emmanuel didn't tell him, do this or do that. Emmanuel told him, do you think this would be the best action? And then made him to think. And then he's like, yeah, maybe not. So the good guides, they will inspire you to think about it. And but this is why mediums are even more dangerous, because mediums listen to voices. And it is dangerous when we are not well inspired, when we are not praying, not and this is not just to me, it's to every single person, because we are all mediums in different levels. Most of the population, they feel inspiration, they have like this insights, and many of the times are spirits inspiring us. But mediums that are ostensive mediums, they have this in a bigger, in a higher level. But it also can be bad, because we are not like all the time like this. We can go like duh, and like whoa, like duh. And when we go whoa, then we connect with other level of spirits that are not really good. And they can be deceiving, and they really can say no. And they can even change their appearance, They can manipulate their perispirit and make them look like good, look like different than what the level of energy really is. So the only way to combat this is really prayer and meditation. Only like this we will be able to feel the energy of whatever is approaching us, and really understand, and also to be more connected with our guardian angel. Our guardian angel is always with us when we have to make a decision, for example, when we have to decide on something that's important. Our guardian angel is right there. Our guardian angel is not with us every single minute as we imagine, but the connection of our guardian angel, the spirit of our guardian angel and ours, is through the speed of thought. So you imagine, speed of thought. You thought it's here. So we are cooking. It doesn't mean that the guardian angel is right there, like, do this, do that. Maybe. You're going to burn your food again. Wake up. But whenever something it's important, boom, in that second, when you think about taking a decision that's important, then your guardian angel will be there to help you. What happens is that our thoughts are always all over the place, and we even forget to pray. We forget to to ask for inspiration, help, and guidance. And then we take our important decisions like without much of thinking. And then we feel the consequences later on. So that's why we really have to calm ourselves and like, whoa, I really need to decide if I'm going to buy a bicycle or a house. Let me ask for help to see what would be better. Then we would be always better inspired. So, do you guys have anything else to say? Let me just read it here. Oh, just the last sentence that's very important. I already mentioned it, but the spirits that have no scruples, cloaking themselves with names they have borrowed in order to render their utopian ideas acceptable. So this happens a lot, and this is the biggest danger to mediums and to spiritist centers who have mediumistic meetings, because like Divaldo Franco receives Bezerra de Menezes, but as you said, the spirit of Bezerra de Menezes is a very, very high-level spirit who really brings these very beautiful, powerful messages. But it does not come to every single medium. And I know a lot of people who claims, oh, this was Bezerra de Menezes. It might be, but we don't know, because there are lots of spirits who can imitate famous spirit, the way to say, and they can imitate the message, and it's not true. But there are also many, many spirits from the work environment, if I can say, of Bezerra de Menezes, for example. And if it is a spiritist center who is working well, studying, and doing everything good, it might sign a message or say it was Bezerra de Menezes. And this is why it's so important, the message to be fully analyzed and not just, oh, yay, now we are receiving Bezerra de Menezes. Because the spirits, they can change their appearances, their voices, and they can sign as famous spirits just to bring everybody to start believing in that message. And from that on, they can start diverting the message that started good, start like changing, and suddenly can go to dangerous consequences. So it's very important to all of us really be very careful when spirits start signing famous names, or when a medium starts saying, oh, I just received a message from Chico Xavier or whoever. So it's better for us to don't accept. No, it's better for us to say 100 messages that were good are wrong than to accept one that are really wrong, and we accepted this as a good message, because that's when the danger comes. If this was really a message from Bezerra and we thought it was not, Bezerra is not going to feel hurt. He's going to actually be like, wow, these people are really trying so hard. So it's better for us. It's better for us to not trust in every spirit. So guys, let's stop for here. Let's stop here for now. So we stopped in the first test is undoubtedly that of a reason. We start this next time, and next time we go to lesson 8. It was awesome. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Angela.
let's hope next week no troubles. Let's see what type of troubles we will have in 2 weeks. So let's just close our eyes and do our final prayer of thanksgiving. Dear beloved Master Jesus, thank you so much for being with us here tonight, helping us to understand the messages of these 2 beautiful books. Most of all, help us to be able to be active and to put in practice what we learned. Help our hearts to be more loving, and help us to love to work. to fully love to work, so we will understand better the enlightened spirits and how will be our future in the heavens. Thank you so much. So be it.
So be it.
My friends, thank you so much for your loving presence. Have a great, great night.
Thank you.
Same to
Thank
See
you
you
all.
soon.
Ciao.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.